What's good, yo? I'm at my homie's house, and he's got a view, but he's got a balcony too. So I thought I'd record a video. Today I wanted to talk about multitasking. Okay, recently I've come across a realization, and that's that multitasking is actually complete and utter dog-ish. Here's why. So, the thing I've realized about multitasking is when I'm trying to do my focused tasks, right? I say I'm multitasking, but what's really happening is my attention is deviating from task A to then task B, and that takes a bit of neural load to do, right? To go from here to there and then focus on that thing and then bring back your focus, which takes even more neural load. So what we think we're doing is multitasking, right? Which is like, oh, you're expending the same amount of neural load and you're just being able to do all the work. But I think what's really happening is you have your attention on one thing, and what ends up happening is your attention moves towards B. It takes a while to shift there, and then you start focusing on B rather than your focus immediately being on B. Does that make sense? And if you do that enough times, it just kind of confuses your mind. So for example, it could be as little as something as, you're trying to get some deep work done, and all of a sudden you try to play some music, let's say on Spotify. And so you're thinking about what song to play on Spotify, and you're actively scrolling. So you're actively trying to make decisions, and it takes a little bit for you to focus on Spotify. Then once you're focused on Spotify, you're now looking for the song, okay? And then not to mention, you could also get distracted by other notifications, things like that. But let's keep it at bare minimum. Let's say even if it's just Spotify you're focused on, it takes a lot of your neural load to go back and focus on that thing again. So it takes neural load to focus on the thing and then go back from task B to A. And that's just taking a lot more neural load. So I think it's very important that you try to be aware of that, because you might think you're multitasking or being efficient, but you could be more productive. And how I define productive is being doing more per unit of time, right? So maybe you're able to do more per unit of time if you're just focused on one task and that task alone, and you're not deviating from that task to another task, if that makes sense. So now, there are some tasks you can multitask. Multitask. And I think those come down to what are the important tasks, and then what are the unimportant tasks. The unimportant tasks you can multitask. The important tasks you cannot multitask. And typically, and you might say, well, okay, what defines important and unimportant? I think what defines important is, some of y'all might have heard about this, but it's called the Pareto's distribution. So the 20% of work that you do gives you 80% of the results. So I would quantify or define that as your important tasks, right? So that could be maybe your homework or your studying, if you're doing school. Maybe that could be your business work. And one other way to know if it's an important task is how hard is it for you to do? And so what you would do is wake up and focus on that task first thing, just so it's much easier on your brain to be able to do, if that makes any load of sense, right? And so that means that the unimportant task would be the complete opposite from the Pareto distribution. It would be the 80% of things that you're doing that are giving you only 20% of the results. So that is what I would quantify as unimportant tasks. Now, of course, that's going to be whatever it is to you in your situation, right? For me, it may be making the YouTube videos, for example. It is important in a sense that, of course, I'm making the YouTube videos and it's there for the channel, but it's not important in a sense that it takes a lot of neural load from me, and it's not very difficult for me to do. What is difficult for me to do is sit down and just do some work for trying to structure the way I might want to do YouTube, or like structure the way I want to go about doing the business, or maybe selling things or things like that, right? That takes a lot of neural load out of me. So I try to focus on doing that first thing when I wake up. And that way I have so much done before the day is even close to over, and I can feel very, very accomplished and go about doing some of the tasks that are easier for me. For example, like going to the gym, or what else? Making these YouTube videos, what else? Work, all these other things that I can use less of a neural load on, right? And let me help you with an analogy, right? If you game by any capacity, you'll know what I'm talking about. So if you know what a MOBA is, right? A lot of you might know like League of Legends or Smite or things like that, right? If you're a gamer, you'll understand this. Your neural load is kind of like your mana bar for the day. And so I know it's not necessarily tactical in MOBAs to use your ultimate first thing, right? But let's assume in this situation that you're trying to do the most damage to your day possible, right? And so what you need to do is use your ult. Your ult, assuming, does the most damage, but it also uses the most mana points. So you need to use your ult first thing, right? And do as much damage to the day as possible. And then you use the second most damaging ability that might take, the second most amount of mana, let's just say. It might or might not, right? But basically, you want to focus on doing the hard-hitting things first. Because if you start with the easier stuff first, you might not be able to use that ultimate ability and do that much damage output in a MOBA, right? Same thing in real life. If you expend too much energy or brain points or neural load throughout your day, whatever you want to call it, mental bandwidth, then it becomes very, very difficult for you to be able to invest your time into that difficult thing that's already hard for you to do mentally, and then do it way later in the day because you've already spent your energy doing other things, and now you're tired because you've eaten, and now you feel like you need to rest, and you still have that on your mind, and it's just like, it's just there, and it's very, very annoying. But yeah, it gets very, very, let's just say, hard for you to be able to do those things. So structuring your day to where you're doing the hardest things first is what's going to help you, I think, succeed in that manner. And I know this video took a bit of a turn, right? But I think that is what I wanted to talk about, is the fact that you use up a lot of mental bandwidth when you're trying to multitask, and to basically just hardcore focus on that one thing. And if it's hard for you to do, focus on doing it first thing when you wake up, and I think you'll have a lot more success with it. One other thing you could do is like mute your phone and your notifications in airplane mode. I did that this morning, and I was able to get a lot more work done than I ever thought I could, and I'm going to continue to do this and update y'all and see how much progress I'm making. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it, right? Because and why put your phone in airplane mode in D&D? And I would do it the night before, because what happens is you see notifications pop up and you're very, very tempted to click them to get that dopamine rush or dopamine hit, right? Whatever you want to call it. And so it's taking your attention away from you. And so many things are taking your attention away from you. And you might not think that's necessarily bad, but it's taking away your mental bandwidth, and you're just leaving mental residue everywhere, which is something Cal Newport mentions in Deep Work. I haven't read the book, but I read like a Hamza summary on it. So eventually I hope to be able to read the book and get more details on that. But yeah, multitasking is a scam. It's a lie. Don't do it. The only reason you should be doing it is if you're doing unimportant tasks, which I described as, 80% of the things that are only giving you 20% of the benefits or the results, 20% of the results. So multitask those and you'll be fine, especially if you've built enough discipline around them. Like these YouTube videos, I've built enough discipline to where they've kind of become this quote unquote unimportant task. Of course, they're important because I need to upload them, but unimportant in a manner that they're easy to do and I can multitask, and do them later in the day because they don't take as much neural load from me. And I think that's partly what allows for you to lessen the mana cost, you could say, for anything, for any ability, or for, sorry, abilities. I'm talking like I'm playing the fucking video game, bro. Okay, that's what helps you lessen like the cost, or like the cost of your neural load, is like, if you discipline yourself enough at it, you get it good enough to where you've basically lowered the mana points, in my opinion. And so, because YouTube videos were very, very hard for me, so I had to do them at like the beginning of the day, and they're very hard for me to do. But now I'm doing them later in the day because they're just a lot easier, and I'm very confident I can get them done because I've been doing them enough now. I've been doing them every day. It's partly why I've been doing them every day. It challenges me to make quality content, and it challenges me to post every day. And I know if I post every day, there's no way I can lose. So, like, yeah, that was a whole spiel, but I guess this kind of helps connect everything that it is that I talk about. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you. All right, peace. Take it easy. Look at this view, man. MashaAllah. All right, peace.